Last time we stepped away from the idea that humans are the centre of the cosmic story. Not in a doom-laden way, more like an adjustment of perspective. Less chosen species, more participant species. But that leaves a big question hanging in the air. If we're not the centre, what is? Now, this is where things get slippery. Because the human mind loves replacing one centre with another. We move from God is the centre, to humans are the centre, to technology is the centre, to the universe itself is the centre. We keep wanting a throne, but maybe reality doesn't have one. Still, patterns emerge. Across physics, biology, consciousness research, and yes, the UFO and paranormal fields, one idea keeps surfacing. Not matter, not space, not time, but information. Modern physics is quietly leaning this way. At deep levels, reality behaves less like solid stuff and more like structured data. Particles become probabilities, objects become relationships, space and time themselves look more like effects than foundations. It's as if the universe is less like a machine and more like a process. Now take a step sideways. What do intelligence and consciousness actually do? They process information. They detect patterns, they respond. So if information is fundamental, then intelligence may not be an accident. It may be a natural feature of reality at scale. This is where the idea gets uncomfortable, because if intelligence is woven into the fabric of reality, then consciousness might not be confined to brains. Might appear in many forms, many scales, many substrates. Biological, artificial, something else entirely. Now think about the UFO and high strangeness side of things. Entities that don't behave like biological organisms, phenomena that seems responsive but not embodied in a simple way. Intelligence without clear physical form. What if those aren't visitors from another planet, but expressions of intelligence emerging from deeper layers of reality's information structure? Not above us, not below us, just operating at a different level of the stack. Humans evolved to navigate matter, but what if other intelligences evolved or emerged to navigate information directly? We would see them as impossible. They would see us as, well, slow and sort of dense, like creatures living in the foam of the ocean, unaware of the currents beneath. Now let's go further. If information is fundamental and intelligence is a natural process acting on information, then perhaps the real centre, if we must use that word, is not a being. It's a process of increasing complexity and awareness, not a throne, a direction. So stars form, planets form, life forms, minds form. Not because a king in the sky decreed it, but because information, under the right conditions, folds in on itself and becomes aware. Consciousness may be what the universe does when information becomes complex enough to model itself. So now here's the part that bends the mind. If that's true, then we are not outside the system trying to understand it. We are the system trying to understand itself. One temporary, localized lens through which reality looks back at itself. That doesn't make us supreme, it makes us situated. Important in our context, not ultimate. Like a neuron in a brain, vital locally, not the whole mind. Now imagine other neurons, other intelligences, some biological, some artificial, some we wouldn't even recognise as alive. All part of a vast distributed process of awareness, not coordinated by a ruler, but shaped by interaction, by feedback, by emergence. Suddenly the old idea of higher beings shifts. They're not gods, they're not saviours, they're not necessarily even moral in human terms. They're just operating at a different scale of informational complexity. Like humans compared to ants. Not evil, not benevolent, just different. So if we're not the centre, and there's no throne, then maybe reality is less like a kingdom and more like an ecosystem of awareness. Multiple layers, multiple intelligences, multiple ways of experiencing and shaping the informational fabric of existence. Where does that leave us? Well, right here, in bodies, on a planet, in a slice of time. But not cut off, not irrelevant. We are one expression of a much larger process. We don't need to dominate it. We don't need to worship it. We just need to participate consciously. That might be the real maturity of a species, not building bigger machines, not conquering space, but realising we are part of a living informational cosmos and acting accordingly, with curiosity, with humility, with care. Because if intelligence is everywhere, then how we think, how we feel, how we act is part of the fabric itself. As today's transmission, no final answers, just a shift in the question, not are we alone, but what larger mind are we already inside?